I'm going to ask each of you to spend a little bit of time talking about three basic ideas. What's going well in your world? What are some challenges? And what's on the horizon? And I'm going to start at the far end with Dave and Paula. In Yakima, tell us about what's going on in Yakima County.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Gilbreath. I'm a longtime member and former chair of the Yakima County Asset Building Coalition, and we've gone through some exciting times. In addition to the Asset Building Coalition, I volunteered as a coaching mentor at Love Inc. for about 6 years, and pretty exciting work. Also worked as a board member, active board member of the Washington State Micro Enterprise Association. Who knows about the Washington State Micro Enterprise Association? It supports micro enterprise across the state of Washington. That's 5 or fewer employees. And that organization does wonderful work. And we have funding this year, $3.5 million. We're going to be giving out most of that money to organizations, many of those in this room, to help develop micro enterprise across the state. So pretty exciting times. Just a little bit about Bank On. Like most asset building coalitions, we support Bank On activities. We looked at the need for Bank On in Yakima, Paula, about 15 years ago. We studied that for the better part of a year, and we actually did a survey at that time, and we determined we were looking at what's the need, how many are unbanked, and why are they unbanked? And we found out that in Yakima, 10% of households were unbanked. And that was a bit surprising given the state average is about 3%. We found out in that survey that about 30% either had credit issues or previous bad banking experience, overdrafts and so forth, and weren't able to open bank accounts. Almost 20% said they just didn't have the money to open an account and couldn't do so for financial reasons. And surprisingly, 6% said, I don't trust banks. And so we went ahead and launched Bank On in 2008, and we've been up and down with challenges ever since. You can add whatever to that.
So that's sort of our past. My name is Paula Slaye. I am the chair of the Yakima Asset Building Coalition. Former position, I was employed at a credit union for over 39 years. At which point in time, way back when DFI and the Credit Union Association in Washington State started Bank On as an idea to go ahead and commingle and get people out there to go ahead and have the relationship to offer Bank On services. Especially the big thing at the time was to, overlook people's past history of use of their products and go ahead and give people a second chance. So many things were done in addition to the normal stuff being done in Washington State. This also went on a federal level, and some grants had been given on a federal level to go ahead and go after certain populations or communities. So Yakima got the opportunity to go ahead and offer our service to Latino in the Valley. They were able to hire an individual for a year who went out and made presentations to groups of Latinos to go ahead and encourage them and tell them about banking services and hopefully build some trust. In that period of time, in a 1-year period, we gained 1 account that was labeled that way. And so we knew that basically things were changing. The community itself, the Latino community itself, was coming from a transient agricultural community to more of a now community that is more self-absorbed, self-sustaining and so forth, getting a lot of second generation people and so we are making a push to make that grow. We are finding though that we are having more of an individual institution, maybe a 1 branch deal that will take it on as a project. Our former Bank On Yakima chair was working at a branch here in town and made it her project to go after it. And she's the one that went ahead at her branch and established Bank On accounts here in Yakima. But we haven't been able to give it up to a larger extent and go forward and get the big people starting at the top of the organization, the board of directors, the management, CEOs, to make Bank On be a high priority. And as we're starting to see now in Yakima, We have both Banner Bank coming on board and Columbia Bank that have gone ahead and changed that and have moved it to a corporate still. I'm going to pass it on to Michael.
Well, thank you.
And Paula for sharing about Yakima, and they are locals here, so give them a hand for hosting us. For places to eat. Thank you, everybody. Everyone who went to Second Street Grill last night. Cheers. Goes with Banner Bank, and I'm really excited to hear what's going well. What are some of the challenges, and what are the horizons as you implement more bank-on stuff?
For allowing us to be here, and thank you for all the other financial institutions who are here as well, and involved and looking to be involved. And that's one of the reasons why I am here. I'm going to tell on myself. I'm actually on the board of the Financial Empowerment Network, and about 4 or 5 months ago, Jennifer, the executive director, kind of pulled me aside and said, "Michael, when is Banner Bank gonna become bank-on certified with the national accounts?" And I'm like, "Jennifer," I said, "we are, aren't we?" Let me back up. I was with Bank of America for 20 years. And then prior, I've been with Banner Bank. This is my 6th year with Banner Bank. So there was some activity with Banner Bank prior to my arrival. And that kind of seemed to sunset as there was some turnover in the various departments. And so my goal being here today, and my goal with Banner Bank and the leadership, is this is back on the radar, Banner Bank radar, and it is at the CEO level. So we're having those conversations now, and part of my responsibility when I go back is just to kind of report on the conference and identify or talk about some of the needs that were identified. So I mentioned to Jennifer, I said, I thought we were bank on, we had a national account. We did not. But what we did have, and Linda Taylor mentioned this yesterday, we had what we thought was a great version of a bank on product. The low deposit requirements, minimal fees. We do have that product in existence. What we did not have was the NSF. We still charged for NSF fees. So what we're doing is we're taking that product, our existing product that we currently have, we're mirroring that against the national account standards. And our goal is to mirror the national account standards altogether. So we're working on that. And hopefully this time next year, the next meeting, I can sit here or someone from Banner Bank can sit here and say, if it's not me, we are meeting the national account standards. Okay, so what are some of the challenges with this? There's many layers within the bank that we're bringing to the table. So we've got our marketing group, we have our compliance group, we have our training group, we have our products group. So my point in saying that is that we can't just flip the switch and start to roll out this product. There's requirements with the FDIC that we have to make sure we're meeting. We have to make sure that from a training standpoint, our online, our phone, our telephone, our online services there, our branches, that everyone is versed with this product. So that's what we're also in the process of doing behind the scenes, is building out that training and who's going to roll that out to whom and when, and how is that going to be ongoing. So when someone walks into a branch and speaks about the bank on certified product, we will be aware and know exactly, how to respond. I can't say that we can do that today. And I know that when I was with the prior institution, quite frankly, we had challenges, even with the larger financial institution. So that's where some of the challenges lie, but those are just opportunities for us to get worked out. And that's something that we're excited about doing. And in the future, it's our goal to have this product available throughout our market. So we're in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and California. So if we can standardize this product based on the national account standards here, hopefully we can roll that out across the other footprints as well. Now, in some of the other markets, they don't have the strong asset building coalitions. They don't have this kind of connection and synergy that's here, but we will have that product available and just waiting for those coalitions or whatever initiatives are going to take place in those markets to marry up with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Oh dear. Here we go. I'm going to peck on you for actually one more question.
Okay.
There's a lot of financial institution folks in the audience. If you could give one piece of advice for folks who are trying to explore a bank on account or start that process, what piece of advice would you pass on?
Let's talk to the other lenders, other financial institutions that are bank on certified. And in fact, those conversations are already taking place.
I believe it.
I was asked yesterday about, the national account standards and what we're doing. I've talked to other financial institutions. We at the leadership level are having those conversations as well, just so that they're more informed. Our marketing department, our products team's more informed. I know that our products manager has reached out to other financial institutions that are bank on certified or have met those national account standards, just to talk about how they navigated the process. So I would encourage all the financial institutions, if you're interested, talk to those, speak to those organizations or institutions that are certified already.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Give Michael a round of applause. And closest to me on my right is a dear friend, Barbara Maxwell, with the Walla Asset Building Coalition, amongst many other hats that she wears. We had a chance to go down to Walla, oh goodness, weeks ago in the past, recently, and do a Bank on Reignition event. And I got to hang out with some wonderful folks in Walla. I'm really excited to hear how your Bank on initiative is going and what's going well, what are some challenges, and what's on the horizon.
Great. When Ryan says we, he meant he and Jennifer drove to Walla and attended a luncheon, which was really well attended and was a lot of fun. Well, I'm on the opposite end of the table from Yakima because the Asset Building Coalition in Walla is kind of on the opposite end of Yakima, where they have had a long-standing relationship with asset building and bank on. It's fairly new in Walla. I was hired as the asset building program manager for my organization 2 years ago. And when I was hired, I'll be honest, I didn't even know what asset building was, but I got hired. It was part of my job. The other part of my job I knew I could do. So I really decided, I could figure this out. I'm sure I could figure this out. I'll make this work. So kind of jumped into it blind, but had a lot of fun jumping into it. One of the things I learned is that the person who'd been doing asset building prior to me had been out of the position for over a year. So nothing had happened in Walla for a year. And he had been a contract employee who was brought in about 3 times a year to do financial education. And a lot of that was, in the end, it was through Financial Beginning. So he wasn't doing it. He was just coordinating somebody else coming in and doing it. And he'd never had his own asset building coalition. So I literally had a blank slate. I got to do whatever I wanted to do, which was a lot of fun. And what I did first was simply go out and recruit a coalition. What he had done was had joined a faith-based coalition that was looking at poverty in Walla. So he just sort of joined that coalition, and it wasn't his. He didn't have control over the agenda, but it did give him an opportunity to make announcements from time to time. But I wanted a coalition that was really focused on asset building. So I went out and just started calling people, and I decided I wanted financial institutions, both banks and credit unions. I wanted some of my nonprofit partners. I wanted folks in city government, and I wanted people in the education system. Some of you probably know Walla has 3 college/universities. So education is a big part of our particular community. And we had our first meeting in November of 2020. So we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary. And Jennifer's predecessor, Alice Cody, who many of you probably know, she got a hold of me pretty quick, which was good. She was like my first mentor in this work, and Ryan was my second. She basically said, banking is the foundation of everything. If you don't have banking, you don't have anything. So in January of 2021, we did a roundtable, a virtual roundtable, where I invited the folks from Cities for Financial Empowerment to speak to the branch managers and all of the CRA officers of the financial institutions in Walla. And what Michael said is part of what we did, I invited Adam Stein to be one of the guest speakers. And Adam really talked about it from a bank's point of view. Here's the kind of things that you need to know if you want to have this type of account. So when they were asking the technical questions that I had no idea about, Adam was fielding all of those questions. So Michael's advice about talk to other people who are doing it, I would give that a total thumbs up. And since then, the asset building and Ryan's advice was don't have quarterly meetings, have monthly meetings. So we've been having monthly meetings. And it's been great. So like I said, we're up on our 2nd year anniversary. And we've kind of expanded from just the financial education classes and our bank on work. And now we're trying to provide outreach services to youths, adults, and seniors. So it's been kind of exciting to sort of see it restart, rebloom, and sort of grow out. Challenges are like when the bank on information is available. So I will say one of the other things is Walla Walla City is about 32,000. And when you look at our county, it's 65,000. So we are probably considered a small city, or some of you would say you're a small town. We are not in a banking desert, which is lovely. We've got a lot of banks, and we've got 3 banks that have bank on accounts. I'm very excited that Banner Bank is going to be adding an account. I've heard rumors that there is another bank that's working on a bank on account. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to a different bank to talk to their team about a bank on account. So we may go from 3 bank on accounts to 6 bank on accounts, which would be really exciting. The problem is that when you drill down into Walla Walla, I can find information in terms of who's unbanked and who's underbanked, but our data doesn't go any deeper. So at that point, it's like, who do we think is unbanked and underbanked? So strategy wise, it's a bit challenging to sort of figure out who we're targeting. So I'm always looking at who's got what information that might help us be more specific. And just keeping the energy of the group. Like, they've been great for 2 years. I would love to be schooled with asset building and bank-ons that have been going for a long time, because I do worry about that. I'm like, okay, we're new, we're energized, we're moving forward. Where are we going to be 3 years from now? Can I keep the energy up? So I will say that's one of my personal challenges. Things that are next for us, we're doing things, like I said, this year, we've never reached out to do anything specifically with seniors. So that's a new population we're going to try to reach out to. For me personally, the Asset Building Coalition and Bank On are going to be heavily focused on promoting the new Working Families Tax Credit. That's going to make a huge difference to a lot of members in my particular community. I am starting my own very small pilot rent reporting program with like 15 people, very, very small, because I feel very passionate about this. So I need to start small to see how well it works. And I had one other thing that I was really excited about, but I can't remember. So I'm going to stop there.
So before I open it up to questions, I do want to have one clarifying thing that I'm going to throw at Dave, Paula, and Barbara. We've talked about asset building coalitions as a term, and I have my definition of what an asset building coalition is. Asset building is financial health, financial literacy, financial empowerment, connections, building folks. What do you guys into that word asset building coalition? Words asset building coalition. I'm going to throw it up to anybody who wants it.
We've talked about what is asset building many times at various meetings, and we've revised our mission statement several times to reflect that. So in my opinion, it's reaching out to low to moderate income individuals to help them build assets over time. And that includes financial literacy, as well as how to buy that first house or how to maintain a budget, those kinds of things. And I know we focus a lot on kids as they are developing in school. There's studies that show if students have any money set aside, they're 6 times more likely to go to college than if they don't. And I'm talking about $1 or $2 or $1,000, not tens of thousands of dollars. If they have an account set aside for college, they're more likely to go to college. And so we support the College Bound Scholarship Program, is that what it's called? And very active in that. And so we're reaching out at all levels in the community to help them build assets over time.
And I like how you mentioned school, because knowledge is an asset. Being able to navigate through systems well is an asset in and of itself. Yeah.
Barbara mentioned about Working Family Credit Act coming up. I basically run the AARP tax aid program in Yakima, Kittitas, and Klickitat counties. And so that's another good place to go ahead and help people build our assets. I know we need to let people be aware of the changes that are coming in the government rules when we know them ahead of time. There have been a lot of that going on, and helping people be aware that, you know, what you may have gotten last year may not be coming this year. So don't, you know, bet on the buck. It's going to be there. We had a lot of surprises for people when the child credit was given to the individuals that came in and said, well, this isn't as much of my refund as I've had in the past. And when we had to explain, well, that's because you've already received half of your normal credit. And it was like, oh, I wasn't aware of that. So, you know, with another change being, you know, going back from the $3,000 per child to the $2,000 per child this year, there's changes always going on. So we need to help people understand their financial responsibility and not, assuming that they're always going to be given money from somebody else. So,
helping to navigate the systems that are complicated and scary, and when we can, helping folks navigate them in a way that is advantageous. Is that what I'm hearing? I love that. Barbara, did you remember what you were excited about? Or do you want to talk more about what? There we go.
Yes, I will say the very first thing the Asset Building Coalition did. So our first meeting was November, and our second meeting in December, we started working on a mission statement, and we decided to keep it very sort of short and focused. And for us, asset building is simply greater financial security for individuals and families in Walla County. So whatever we can do that helps make that a reality, that's what the mission of our Asset Building Coalition is. And like Yakima, we did a youth savings initiative program last year. We partnered with Campfire and sort of went into the after school programs. And our whole goal was kind of grassroots, that if we could get kids interested in savings and opening savings accounts, and they went home with a list of all the kids' savings accounts in town with some information on the 529 plans on the back, that was to plant a seed for mom and dad. But our hope was that that could be a little bit grassroots. So if kids wanted to open a savings account and maybe mom and dad or guardian, grandma, grandpa didn't have one, it would hopefully work its way from ground up and encourage the adults in their lives to also have a savings account.
Awesome. Wonderful. I'm going to open it up to questions. Do we have mic runners in the crowd who are ready to run mics? Okay, walk quickly with mics. Anyone have questions, please raise your hand. Don't have to be good questions. You got one up here and then.
My question is, who creates the Asset Building Coalition? Can a group of folks just say, you know what, we need an Asset Building Coalition, and they just create it, or how are those created?
Who wants to take that one? I can, but it looks like Dave wants to talk.
Is it on? What we did in Yakima was we had a group of individuals. I think it was the Chamber of Commerce, at the time, Consumer Credit Counseling of Yakima Valley, some other community organizations got together and decided we needed to develop this thing called asset building. And we'd seen a few others in the state doing that, usually at the county level. And so we kind of emulated what some of the others were doing. We made some phone calls and got some information, and we just went from there. And we elected not to be a 501c3. We elected just to have a coalition that's not really an organization. And we use other organizations that are 501c3s when we need to for grants and things like that.
I like it, yeah. The very, very long answer that I'm going to try and shorten it down. Any group of people who care about financial health can come together in regular meetings and improve their community. Very, very specifically, the Department of Commerce has a grant that they administer called the Asset Building Grant. Most asset building coalitions are at least partly funded through that asset building grant. So we're talking to Carl Hoffman or Jessica Brown, I believe, at the Department of Commerce is your best way to get into that loop of funding, but it does not take that specific route of funding in order to meet with folks in your community in order to work together to improve the financial standing and financial security of the people who live in your community. It just takes someone, I think we heard yesterday, someone with a little bit of energy and a good idea, or a lot of bit of energy. Great question, thank you. Other questions? Thoughts, concerns, comments? Quagmires?
I'm gonna ask a question.
Go for it, Jared.
So like building on that, I'm from Snohomish County. I'm with Workforce Snohomish. We've had an asset building contract for a couple of years now, but then I had also been kind of leading the our area United Way, who had the contract. I was doing that work. We didn't have a salaried staff member. I wasn't given any work time to do this. I was just trying to promote Vita tax sites, student loan information through my social media and various community groups I was interested in. We recently hired someone. And I guess taking back a step, 5 years ago, we actually had a coalition. We had a large community group that met quarterly. Some of the stakeholders that Barbara talked about were there. And we set agendas and we made plans and we accomplished things. But now that's all gone. I didn't have the bandwidth to do it. And we're starting over again. And that's kind of what I've struggled with because I've had like fits and starts where I try to invite people at various community meetings to engage with me here, but I couldn't get the buy-in. So I'm thinking now, do I need to build a coalition first or have a plan to build, to offer the coalition to inspire people to join? So I'm curious what your thoughts, like, where do you put the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart there?
Put them all together in the same meeting. I want to know how Yakima has stayed active and engaged for so long. David, Paula, you want to have a thought?
Well, I think quarterly meetings are great, but I don't think it's often enough. I think you need monthly meetings. If they're quarter to quarter, you just you just lose track of everything and it just doesn't keep things cohesive and ongoing. So I really recommend monthly meetings with maybe a time or two during the year that you take off, like at Christmas and maybe during the summer vacation time, something like that. But typically at least 10 or 11 meetings per year, so roughly monthly. And as far as do you do the coalition first or what? I would say you get interested community leaders in a room and just kick it around and maybe have a draft mission statement and go from there.
I think one of our other partners that we have done is, number one, you need to have people with passion. It seems like a lot of people get assigned the duties of being in a coalition or whatever because it goes with the job and, you know, you're going to be a rep for such and such. So the passion needs to come from the individual that really wants to make a change too. We've been very fortunate to have 211 be part of our organization. We're going to be losing our gal that we've had for many years who's retiring at the end of this year. But 211 has been a great example because things are out there in the social network. They already know the needs. They're hearing the needs of the people that, whether it be Meals on Wheels or what may be out there in the community that's needed. And so, you know, it's looking for the people that have the need and for the people that maybe have the desire to help fill those needs and coming together as a group and not reinventing the wheel. You know, we're trying to go ahead and have representation from various individuals that may work together instead of maybe offering a food bank service ourselves, you know, joining in with a group that already do the food bank services and not trying to recreate it just for ourselves. You know, in many cases, our coalition has gone down in numbers and so forth over the years. We are in the process of rebuilding. And so it goes back to that desire to be out there. I think the pandemic has gone ahead and let us all be aware of the need all of our communities have, all of our individuals have. And I think every individual has had a need regardless. You know, it may not be only a low income individual. There's needs out there for schoolwork assistance for those that, you know, maybe have millionaire kids. I don't know. But, you know, if it's a need, it's a need. And so the best way to do is just have the individuals come together as a group. And sometimes you feel like you're hitting your head against the wall. It's nice to have somebody else to listen to it on the other side. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It waxes and wanes. It takes effort, continued effort, and having good partners to share the load is absolutely key. I know that Jennifer does a good job of shared leadership. If you're ever in a meeting with Jennifer, if you talk or not, you will walk out of that meeting with 3 responsibilities. If you attend every meeting, you come out with 5. Any other thoughts, questions? Yes, please. One more. We gotta move on.
All right, and Ryan, I think this question might be more for you.
Okay.
How do we find out about our local asset building coalition? How do we find out how to join or who is in charge? Do we even have one? Is there a place where we can look for that information?
That is a
online?
great question. You should come talk to me, because if I don't have the answer, that is bad. Washington-abc.org, our network has as close to an updated list as I can manage. It will be, come talk to me. Nothing else, go find folks who are in your community in this room, because chances are there are folks who are already doing similar work, maybe under a different name. Human connections that are sharing the energy is more important than having a specific structure of an asset building coalition with some names. I think we're at time. Is that what Jennifer's trying to tell me?
I have something I want to add to that also.
Jennifer wants to
answer that question. The Financial Empowerment Network is working on updating our website soon, TBD, but one of the things that will be added to it is a statewide directory of financial wellness providers. So not necessarily coalitions that are meeting, but others in the state that are doing this work. And one of the reasons that it hasn't launched yet is we know that not all the providers are on there. We are very aware that there are big gaps. And so if you are interested in making sure your organization is included, please talk to myself or to Maimai, who's been out at the front table. We can make sure you get the link so that your organization is added, because we want that to be a place for us to find each other, right? So please check that out, and the website will be launching soon.
I think that my watch tells me that we have shared our time on stage, and I am so very excited, proud. I love all of you guys. Dave has one more thought.
I thought it would come up in the question and answer, and it didn't, so I'll just offer this. The survey we did, 15 years ago, revealed something very significant, and I've heard people say, well, people that are unbanked, they don't want bank accounts. Well, they do. The survey showed that 78% of those that were surveyed that didn't have bank accounts would open an account if they could. Mm-hmm. So go after them.
Yeah, there's always room for growth, and we can't assume people's individual stories from the monolith that we understand. Everyone give our panel a wonderful round of applause.